If you're here, then you're supposed to be here, and you're not supposed to be anywhere else. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. I expect a lot, but I give a lot too. But that's just me. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Root Work with Shamina. I am Shamina, and I am excited about today's video. After doing the last video on the root chakra and relationship, I decided let's go all the way with it. You can't stop there. So we're going to do all 7 of the root chakras, and we're going to be talking about how they affect our relationships when dealing with someone with an imbalance. Today we are going to be talking about the next chakra up from the root chakra, which is the sacral chakra. And that chakra is governed by the color orange. Hence why I tried to find something orange to put on today to harness that energy and really get the discussion going. The sacral chakra is located below the waist where the root chakra is. It is in association with the womb, the reproductive organs, the genitalia, the kidneys and the bladder, and all of those areas of the body there are affected by your sacral chakra. And I tell you that because sometimes when the sacral chakra is low, we'll notice that those areas of our body give us tremendous trouble. And that's something that's an indicator. So that's why I mentioned where they're located and what organs are associated with them. Because if you always have bladder infections or bad kidney issues all the time, and you suffer from different physical ailments, a lot of times it is because there is blockages in your energy, and sometimes helping to nurture and rebuild that energy can actually help to resolve certain physical ailments in our bodies. So that's something to think about. But we are going to sacral chakra is all about what you want and what you need. The creed is I want, I need. And it's that way for a reason. It's governed by our pleasure principles. It's governed by our womb and our reproductive system. And there's a lot of passion there. There's a lot of desire there. And so as you begin to look at the sacral chakra and we begin to dig into what happens when there's an imbalance, keep that in mind, that it is the pursuit of personal pleasure. It is about emotionally developing yourself and creatively developing yourself so that you feel like you are your authentic self. You're presenting yourself to the world in hopes to be accepted, desired, and wanted. If I had to put the sacral chakra in perspective of human development, I would say that this phase takes place around puberty, the teenage years, after you've been nurtured by your parents, and now you kind of want to stand alone. You want to be seen for yourself and be defined by yourself. And you also see yourself now, you recognize that you're desirable to others and others are desirable to you. And that whole dynamic of just trying to figure out who you are. At this phase, we'll notice the dressing and expressive in the way we dress. And a lot of people get their piercings and their tattoos around this phase of life because it's all about demonstrating who you are to the world. You want to be seen, and you want to be seen for your authentic self. But we are going to be talking about what happens when the sacral chakra is blocked or low and how to manage with someone in a relationship that is suffering with that. So without further ado, let's get started and see what's in store. Okay, let's talk about sexuality and intimacy. The sacral chakra is, as we said, about presenting your authentic self. It is about presenting and being desired, the wanting to be desired and the needing to be loved and to experience that love in an intimate relationship. But when the sacral chakra is blocked, there is a fear of pleasure. And so being in the relationship with someone who has a blockage in this chakra, you are going to begin to see that intimacy is a challenge. To be very honest, you're probably going, if you're in a relationship with a person who has a blockage there, you're not going to be very satisfied sexually because you're constantly going to feel like this partner is not opening up to you. They're not blossoming in that area. They're stagnating. They don't know what they want. So it's very hard for them to pleasure themselves as well as you, because they're just uncomfortable with the conversation. Unlike with the root chakra, where someone would actually commit, they would participate in the act of sex, but just kind of distance themselves from the connection part of it. When the sacral chakra is imbalanced, sex becomes something that they may not even have a desire for, and they may not even know why. It's because they have not allowed themselves to be comfortable with the idea of self-expression through sex. This has a lot of reasons why. We live in a world where it is not promoted to be authentic and to accept your sexuality. Many people are taught to be ashamed of their sexuality and their sexual thoughts and their sexual passions. And so this being reinforced depending on what type of parents you had and what kind of environments you lived in and how much you allowed yourself permission to think these thoughts, to feel these feelings, would determine how blocked your sacral chakra is. So if you're in a relationship with this person, the biggest key here is communication, which is going to be hard because talking about sex, talking about intimacy is very tough for someone with a blockage. They almost feel like it's not something to be said. It's almost like we do what we do and that's it. It's not something to be discussed. It's a very awkward conversation and it's not something that they welcome with open arms. But if you are in a serious relationship with them and you're trying to make your relationship work, then what you need to do is you gotta communicate. You're gonna have to tell them what you want because odds are their mind's not even thinking along the lines to know what it is. And so many times we think that people have had the same life experiences as us. And we think that during that teenage years and young adult years that we all had that opportunity to be free and experiment and figure out what we like and what we don't like. But for many of us, that was not the case. And we did not get a chance to have those thoughts and to experience those things. And so we got a late start. So if you are dealing with someone with a late start, then you need to be very expressive in what you want and ask them questions about what they want. Don't assume that because they didn't say anything that they're good, because that's the biggest mistake, because that'll create a divide. And most of these type of relationships, they break up and it's a surprise to at least one person because one person thought everything was okay and the other person was miserable. And so you got to communicate. You got to ask the person, what do you like? What do you need? And even if they don't have a straight answer, continue to keep probing those conversations because you have to get them to think about that part of them that they've never been allowed to think about. And that's really what you got to keep in mind. It is uncharted territory. It is taboo. It is not something that they're comfortable with. And this area really does speak a lot to people who've been violated sexually. In those kinds of circumstances, I notice severe blockages in their sacral chakra because they've attached, and because of the sexual violation, shame has been attached to intimacy, and embarrassment and humiliation has been attached to sexual intimacy. And so when that happens, it's very, very hard to pull someone out of that place, especially if someone has already come and violated that territory. And so you have to be patient, you have to communicate, and you have to continue to build your bond. Unlike in another relationship with someone who may not have been violated sexually, you can do subtle touches and their body will respond. When you're with someone who has been sexually violated or someone who has used their body for sex, use their body for a means of taking care of themselves. This can be happening with someone who's maybe a stripper or someone who's had a past of prostitution. When you're dealing with people who have completely detached themselves from sexual pleasure as being a part of a relationship, and they have attached now new definitions to their intimacy, which is gain or shame or guilt, that is when you really do have to communicate. You may want to consider therapy, but you got to kind of coach them into redefining sexual activity, redefining intimacy and what it means to be turned on and to have sex, that it's not just an act, but it can be something beautiful and something to be enjoyed, and they can give themselves permission to do so. Now, there's another flip side to the intimacy and sexuality of someone who has a blockage, or someone who has an issue with their sacral chakra. And the flip side is they can have an hyperactive sacral chakra, which means the energy is too high. And when the energy is too high, that's where we get the characteristic of the drama queen or the drama king, person who it feels like they feed off of drama. A lot of the times they'll attach their sexual desires to the drama, and it's almost like they get a high and a sexual arousal off of first upsetting you and bringing you to a high place before sex. And so people call it the makeup sex, and the people who are constantly picking fights so that they can break up to make up. And that is what happens also when your sacral chakra is overstimulated. These are people, and there's so many reasons why, this could happen. The chakras are like a thermometer, honestly, for the energy levels in your body. They rise and fall like the temperatures. So every day, depending on what you watch, what you eat, the people you're around, the music you listen to, what you tell yourselves, everything can affect these chakras and can cause the energy to rise or fall. And that's why it's important that you take a self-assessment. You have to step back and you have to realize, how am I feeling? Be in tune with yourself so that you know, hey, I may not need to put any more energy into my sacral chakra because I think I'm good there. Let me start to develop maybe another one of the energy levels to keep me balanced. But that's really up to you to strike a balance, and you have to pay attention to yourself because, again, there are reactions to when things are low, but there's also reactions to when things are high. And for the sacral chakra, there is a big impact when there is an overstimulation in that area, because you do get that dramatics, that extreme creativity, that extreme emotional immaturity, and that extreme sexual potency. And so when you have that collectively together, you get that person that usually causes friction and chaos, but also has a very intimate reaction to that chaos. And it could be a really crazy relationship to be in, because you're looking to yourself saying, why are you fighting me, but then you want to have sex with me? Why are you taking me through drama, but then somehow you want to be close with me right after? And it can seem really crazy, and you can kind of wind up getting caught in that whirlwind and getting used to that drama and that emotional, whirlwind of pleasure that this person is taking you on. So gotta stay in tuned, gotta stay connected. And there is no way to ever 100% know that everything's in line, other than the fact that you have to be in contact with yourself and pay attention to how you feel. Okay, let's talk about creativity. The sacral chakra is all about creativity, and I'm kind of not surprised when I think about, we don't really connect the two, but when you really think about sex and you think about that expression of wanting and needing, it's a real creative process involved in that. You have to really open yourself up to knowing yourself, feeling yourself, being in the moment, and allowing somebody else to join you. And that could be very creative, and it's the difference between someone, I guess, that people say is boring in bed, and then others who are more exciting. Sex can be a very creative process when you open yourself up to it. However, what we're going to be talking about right now is the art of expression, being creatively expressive in your everyday life, living in the moment, being passionate about something. I did a video on purpose and people who are searching for purpose, because right now we are in a time where everybody's creating something. Everybody's doing something. We have so many entrepreneurs, so many new things starting, so many people starting new things, but not everybody. And so if you're that person and you're sitting back and you're like, what's happening for me? I have nothing. I feel like I have nothing to give. I feel like I don't do anything well. I don't have any special gifts. It's possible that your sacral chakra is low. Your energy may be blocked because you're not having that creative spurts. And again, this has a lot to do with how we were raised. I always take things back to the root because I feel like it only makes sense. When you are given the opportunity to explore, given the opportunity to pick out your own outfits as a child, given the opportunity to color and use every color in the crayon box. I think of a time when I was younger, drawing a picture in like, I think I might have been in like the 3rd grade, but I still remember it because I was coloring and I was using the color black. And I was coloring arms and legs, using the color black. And I had a teacher, I don't know if she was a teacher or a teacher assistant at the time, but she was an educator. And I remember her telling me, no, don't use that. That I was doing it sloppy. I was doing a bad job. And for me to use other colors like the browns she wanted a more realistic picture. But in doing that, all I remember was being stopped in the middle of my creativity. And that is a powerful thing, to not have had the ability or, the privilege to be able to say, this is what I like, this is not what I like. All that comes in so many ways. I think about people who have the opportunity to live by themselves and have their first apartment on their own and to decorate their first apartment. And for those of you who've had that experience, you can speak on it. Let me know what you feel like in the comments, because I remember my time and I remember how I felt picking out paint colors and furniture and different little things like that made the difference. It may not have been popular. It may not have been something that everybody else would have picked, but it was mine's. It was mine's and it was authentic to me. And I think because of that, I was able to shape my authenticity. And although I believe I was one of the people who got a late start because I had my childhood was really thrown off by having to do a lot of adult things and take care of the household. Like many of us, I grew up in a situation in which there was drug abuse around me. There was lack and poverty around me. And I had to woman up. I had to step it up at a very young age. And so I didn't get the full opportunity to just be a kid, to do the dance and the, maybe some of the other extracurricular activities that build up our creativity. And it builds confidence in us. You have confidence in the things that you've been affirmed you do well. And it's such a crazy thing when you look to your left and look to your right and you realize, well, I don't have anybody in my life that affirms me. What if you don't have siblings? What if you don't have that best friend? What if you didn't have that mother, father, role model in your life to tell you, I see something in you that might be of use to not just you, but to somebody else. They didn't speak life to you. They didn't see you. So you have to now begin to see yourself. And when that sacral chakra is imbalanced, it is tough because you feel out of step and there is a sense of immaturity there, in the sense of you don't have anything special to offer. Now, if you are in a relationship with someone like this and you are not in that position, you're actually very confident in your abilities. You have a clear vision and kind of a clear idea of your purpose in life and what you want to do with this life. That is extremely intimidating. And so what you may notice in this relationship is that they're going to be a bumping of heads. It's a friction. And it's so funny because the friction might almost seem like it's been tainted with a bit of jealousy, because they don't understand where you got that light from. They don't understand why you're so passionate about this podcast, or why are you so passionate about starting this school or doing this activity and that activity. And it just seems like your hand is in a lot of stuff and they just want you to sit down. They don't understand why that passion brings you such pleasure, because they've never had the opportunity to connect to something like that. Their sacral chakra may be low, and they really don't see how a person could get that kind of gratification from doing and being and wanting to be something. They really don't identify with it. So you might feel like you're with somebody who is your biggest opposer, who is a person who speaks against everything you're trying to do. And that could be really challenging, because when you are trying to create something beautiful, you want the partner that you're with to see the beauty in that. You want them to say, hey, I believe in you. And with someone who has a low sacral chakra, you may not get that support. And so that's something to think about, because those kinds of relationships really don't last long, especially when you're with a self-starter, when you're with a person who wants to make a difference in this life. And so how do we manage that? I would say bring them along for the ride if they're willing to go. You have to kind of lead them as a mentor, show them the way to creativity, show them how creativity can fill some of the voids in their lives. And again, communication, ask them what they like. Tell them what they do that is pleasing to you. Tell them that, hey, I saw you make that, or I saw you do that, or you got a real knack for this, you got a real gift for that. You kind of got to take the role of, you might feel like a parent to your spouse, because you really got to give them a lot of positive reinforcement. You have to nurture their creativity. And this is something that we get from schools, and we get from friends, and we get from the public, and we get from our jobs, but not everybody, got that reinforcement. So you being a partner with someone like this, keep reinforcing their good attributes. Let them know when they show their authentic selves. Make it known that you see them. because they don't see them. And so they're building that authentic self as you go along. I've met so many people in my life where I met them and it feels like they're carbon copies of things I've already seen. And when I see those people, I instantly think to myself that they haven't put enough energy into rebuilding their sacral chakra. They miss something. Something's low. Something's happening, especially if they're starting to see the effects of it in their lives. And it's because they'd rather take pieces of things that they like from people, because it's easy to do that. It's easy to say, oh, I like this, I like that, I want this, I want that. But it's not so easy to say, I like this, but not everything fits me, only that part. And I'll take only, see, to be selective and to pick things that are authentic to you so that you begin to shape your own vision. That takes work. So again, it's all about the communication and staying positive. But if you are in a relationship with someone like that, you got to consider whether or not this is a relationship that you can stay in. Because if you are a creator, this person may seem like a person who always speaks down about something you're trying to do. So, lots to think about. The last area I want to talk about is emotional maturity. Again, it kind of feeds off of everything we've spoke about so far, which is the sexual maturity, creativity, and maturity in that sense, and then the overall emotional immaturity. Have you ever been with somebody and it feels like they can stand in front of a room and do a job, they can speak, they can do everything, but when you're in a relationship with them and things go left, it's like you're dealing with a small child. Everything becomes tit for tat. They're not expressive. They're actually very closed in. They're doing subtle passive aggressive things to get back at you. They are always, if you try to bring to their attention something they're doing, they're telling you about something you did instead of taking accountability. There's absolutely no accountability. And you constantly feel like a child who's catching their spouse in some trouble. That is because I believe that sacral chakra is imbalanced. There's a block there. And I don't care what they've been programmed to do at their jobs or in front of people. It's in those private relationships that we begin to see where we are lacking. We will be whatever we need to be to get a check. We will become whoever we need to become in order to kind of climb the ladder of success in the world. However, when we get home and we are behind closed doors and we're with that person that we know loves us and has committed to us, we kind of begin to show up and show out. And that's when you start to see who the person really is, what they're really doing. And so when you're in a relationship with someone who is emotionally immature, point blank period, it is draining. And I know anybody who is in this relationship can attest to how draining it can be. Especially if you have a nature as a teacher. If you are a nurturer and a natural teacher at heart, then to be in a relationship with someone who is emotionally insecure is like hell. You constantly feel like you are in a classroom in front of a student, and a student that just won't get it, especially if they're not open to letting you show them who they are, and they're not really open to criticism. They don't want to hear anything. So again, in a relationship with them, you're either going to have the type of person who can listen to what you're saying and say, oh, okay, I hear you. And maybe they'll never do anything to change it. They did just that. I hear you. That's it. Or you're with the person who doesn't even want to hear it. They don't even want to hear it. If you have the slightest bit of correction or the slightest bit of criticism, it's like talking to a child and telling them that they didn't do well. And they take it like such a blow to their character when you see it as, I'm helping you grow. And on the flip side, help me grow. That's not the case. They don't want to hear that they didn't do something right, or that you're not happy with this, or you ask those questions, the why questions. So why did you choose to do that? Because it cost us money, or we did this, or we did that. No criticism. Cancel that. Leave it alone, because they can't handle it. So in this relationship, you are going to have resilience. You are going to have a passion for them. And so this, again, is where in these relationships with people, we can use these videos when we talk about these chakras to really put your relationship into perspective. Is this something I can maintain? Is this something I can deal with? If you're not in a marriage already, you're dating or in a long-term relationship and you're contemplating marriage, you need to really think about these things, because these are characteristics that don't go away overnight. They are there and they have been a part of this person's survival. And this is how they've moved through their life long before they met you. So when you start thinking about this, you got to really take into consideration who they're showing you that they are. And that immaturity, that emotional immaturity, can take a relationship through tremendous ups and downs, because many of us might think that after a woman may have a baby, you're expecting the mother of your child to kind of woman up and to show you this mature woman. And she may be very immature emotionally, to the point where you can't say anything. And that's very real. And these are those energy sources that are low when we don't invest in the parts that make us up, those energy sources that we need to keep developing over time. Once your sacral chakra is balanced, it does not have to stay that way. We got to keep surrounding ourselves by people who nurture that sacral chakra, by experiences that nurture your sacral chakra, so that you can continue to be balanced. So, you have a low sacral chakra. Now what? How do you rebuild this? How do you begin to nurture your energies so that way you can get to a place where you can, feel like yourself again? There's a couple of things you can do. For one, my favorite is my crystals. I start my day with them. I wake up, I choose different crystals for different times. I really let my energy tell me that day what crystals I'm drawn to. But they are an effortless way for you to work on your energy levels without ever having to do anything other than wear them around your neck. So the crystal that is the most effective for the sacral chakra is my favorite, and it's tiger eye. So I'm going to show you right here. It's tiger eye. And the reason why they call it that is because the stone itself looks like the inside of a tiger's eye. And so I wear them effortlessly as I walk around. This stone brings and draws positive energy to me to keep my chakras very leveled. And so that's something that if you are into that, they're beautiful. It's a great way to nurture your body and to nurture your aura. And I love them. It helps me. So I would definitely recommend that. Another thing is the incense that we spoke about, that whole idea of aromatherapy. You can burn jasmine. It's a beautiful scent and it does help the sacral chakra. You can also burn sandalwood, which we noticed that was one of the ones I said, even for the root chakra. And many of the chakras, as we go down this series, we go up this series, you're going to notice that they share in a lot of the herbs and a lot of the incense and stones. They kind of share within them, all of them share some and have some in common. So that's a good idea. Another thing is immerse yourself around water. Water is such a beautiful element. And even if you're not in the water, just to be around it, if you have a lake around you or a pond around you, just to kind of sit there and meditate. And really, people think meditation, you don't have to go deep. You don't have to sit there and close your eyes. Just sit and admire nature. Find a spot, look at the water, fix your eyes on something and let your mind go. These are things that we kind of miss while we're in the world of movement and money and management. We miss these opportunities to, again, it all goes back to nature, reconnecting yourselves, getting passionate with being outside, being around the things that are effortlessly living so that you can feed off of that effortless energy and move yourself through this life the best way you can. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you got something out of it that could help you in your relationship, something that could help you understand your partner a little bit better, because relationships are never easy. They're never easy. They take a lot of work and a lot of investment. But what I have learned is that there is more to what meets the eye. And that is what I have learned in my life. And so I share with you what I have learned in terms of energy and how people behave. And I think this is helpful. So stay tuned next week as we go to the next chakra in line. And I am so excited to just be on this channel. I wanted to take a few minutes before I leave to let you guys know that I appreciate all of your likes, all of your shares, all of your comments, all of your subscriptions, because this is something that was not easy for me to come out to do, but it was definitely worth it. And it was time for me to share what I have learned thus far and to really put my knowledge to practice. So I thank you so much. Again, I look forward to speaking to you next week. And until then, give this life the best go at it you can. Bye. Till next time. If you enjoyed today's message, be sure to click like, share, and subscribe so that you're updated every time a new video is uploaded.